Hey guys, welcome back. So if you somehow missed it, today 343 dropped 6 entire minutes of new Halo Infinite campaign footage, gameplay, cutscenes, information, details, and so much more. This is some seriously good stuff, so let's waste no more time and jump right into the breakdown. The first thing we see is a very Halo CE looking Cortana in Chief's hand, but she quickly fades away and Chief looks quite depressed. It turns out later that this purple Combat Evolved style Cortana is in fact evil Cortana from Halo 5. She's taken on a very CE styled look, which I am a big fan of. I think that's a great way to distinguish evil Cortana from the weapon. And man, I'm a Combat Evolved fanboy, so seeing any reference to Halo CE makes me excited, but seeing Cortana look like this makes me even more excited. Here we have new shots of the Discover Hope trailer from a few years ago, and my lord, the improvements now compared to Discover Hope when it came out in 2019, I think, are insane. This game looks absolutely gorgeous. So, in this mission, Chief has to go down to the surface of the Halo to get a weapon, which is presumably the weapon. And I've got to say, I love this kind of Reach-styled first-person jump out of the Pelican that seems to act like the intro to the mission. I really like those immersive little clips that Bungie did in Halo 3 ODST and Halo Reach, so seeing those come back is very cool. I've got to say, one of my favourite things so far about the environment of Zeta Halo is the scale and verticality of the world. Both the natural and also the unnatural environments look so big and they just tower over you. They look so much bigger than any like human construct or anything. I always, in any kind of sci-fi or any universe really, I always love extreme scale. It's one of the things that I love so much about Dark Souls, funnily enough, and seeing that kind of extreme scale work its way into Zeta Halo is really cool, and also canonically kind of makes sense considering Zeta Halo is part of the last ring from the original array, which was 3 times the size of the current Halo array. So the scale of everything, actually, now that I think about it, makes perfect canonical sense as well, which is even better. In the background of this incredibly aesthetic shot here, we have what looks to be a destroyed Guardian. Now, I'm looking forward to seeing how that bad boy got there. There's also what looks to be some other wreckage around it as well. Maybe some more UNSC ships. We'll see some of that in a minute. I've got to say as well, I'm still very confused, but also very intrigued by this massive spire thing. Again, it has that really cool sense of scale that I love from like all Forerunner stuff, but what the hell is this thing, man? Like, we've been teased for so long about this thing. I can't wait to see what it actually is, what it does, why it's there. I can't wait. Here we have some shots of wildlife, just, you know, some Zeta Halo birds vibing by some UNSC debris. And here we have a Banish-styled Forerunner facility, and it looks so damn cool. I love the ominous red glow, and again, the scale and verticality of this massive kind of facility hall room thing. I love as well how you can really see how the Banished have crudely slapped their own architecture and own equipment onto this ancient, really ornate Forerunner aesthetic. It's such a cool clash of aesthetics between something, I'm going to say the word, very brutish, right? The Banished have a very brutish aesthetic compared to the Forerunners that are quite brutalist, which I guess is kind of the same, but has a lot of ornate detail. Seeing those two aesthetics clash is really cool. Okay, in this segment of gameplay here, we have what looks to be an upgraded grapple hook that kind of shocks the target, which is kind of cool. But we're going to talk more about upgrades to equipment and the Mjolnir in a minute. The final brute in this squad is also using a commando, which is nothing new, but cool to see it being done. Now, this area here looks really similar to where the Pelican crashed in last year's demo. I've got a feeling that this area is actually behind where the Pelican crashed, because as you can see, there's the same carcass of the UNSC frigate there that the Banished, we can now see, have repurposed into a base/outpost. It's going to be really cool fighting through the ruins of your own ship that's been repurposed by the enemies. But yeah, love it. The shot of this beam tower at night looks really cool, firing the beam into the air, but I will say I do hope that nighttime gets darker than this, because this doesn't really look like night to me, it looks more like dusk. I want to see like truth and reconciliation levels of night, where it's pitch black at night, it's really dark, I want to see the enemy's armor glowing in the distance through the darkness of the night, make it really aesthetic and like ODST-like as well, give it like ODST levels of darkness too. I really hope it does get darker than this. Now, in the next bit, Chief is reunited with the weapon and he's on a Pelican with her, and she says that she was left on the ring for 6 months following the UNSC's defeat against the Banished. Now, let's do some dates and calculations, right? Last year's demo took place on May 28th, 2560, which was 167 days, or like, I think 5 months and 16 days after the Banished won. They won on December 12th, 2559, I believe. Nothing really significant there, just thought I'd do some date calculations. And then this next bit completely nullifies the concerns of those who thought that maybe Infinite was just going to act like Halo 5 never happened, right? That's not the case. Cortana, or Jen Taylor doing the commentary, says that Chief is still searching for what happened to Cortana, and then the weapon goes on to say that she doesn't know what Cortana did that was so wrong. Now, by saying that, she means she genuinely doesn't know what Cortana did. I don't think she's like, what Cortana did was actually okay. I think she's more like, I genuinely don't know what she did. Now, we then have all of this mixed together with the full shot of evil Combat Evolved style Cortana staring at some sort of installation. Now, it doesn't look exactly like it. It's not a mirror image or anything, but this facility, this installation, whatever she's looking at, looks really similar to Maythrillian to me. It has the same kind of general, like, disc-based design. It's not exact, but it looks strikingly similar. Just some food for thought. Okay, so we finally got some information about UNSC forward operating bases that you can capture in the world. At these FOBs, you can call in vehicles, weapons, and weapon variants, but some more details on FOBs in just a second. Again, when Chief takes off in the Wasp here, I love the scale of this canyon. Very cool looking. Here we have one of the many banished outposts that kind of looks a bit like a junkyard, honestly, that Chief assaults in the Wasp, but of course there's many different ways to assault them. Here we have the Jackal Snipers, and they look incredible. Their armor is like a really nice mixture of Halo 2's Jackal Snipers and Combat Evolved's Jackals, and the Stalker Rifle is just like the cherry on top. This thing looks so cool. I love that faint red beam that comes out of it. Oh, this thing looks so good. In hologram form, once again, Escharum says, "We will meet on the battlefield," which to me kind of confirms the fact that there's going to be some sort of Escharum boss fight at some point. This brute in this camp looks so gnarly, but the most interesting thing about his design is that he appears to have some sort of like face mask on that is very similar to the one that Voridus put on when he released the Flood. Just some food for thought there. There's quite a lot of food for thought in this video, but just a bit more food for thought there. Just let the old brain box work that one out. I do love how aggressive this brute looks, but I'm going to be honest, I think their berserking animation doesn't look anywhere near as good as Halo 2's. The fact that they run like humans as opposed to in Halo 2 where they went on like all fours and like beat you, I think it looked a lot better in Halo 2. But we'll see. Maybe some of them do that animation. This brute, actually, it turns out his name is Craig 2.0, as you can see. Craig 2.0, ladies and gentlemen. Oh yeah, and there's also an Escharum hologram in the room that this brute, that Craig 2.0, came from. The Hunters appear to have their Bungie era colours again, specifically their Combat Evolved era colours, so quite blue and quite green and very, very like vibrant, I'd say. I really like how vibrant and shiny they look. It also appears that they have weak spots on their knees as well now, in addition to their neck and their spine. Mr. Mohawk has made a return here, and I gotta say here, this bit, fighting with Marines in like BDUs, no armor or anything, just in their BDUs on your side, especially seeing them in the back of a Warthog, is really, really, really cool. I like that a lot. It's almost as cool as Chief saving them and then proceeding to drive them off a 300-foot cliff seconds later. Chief, come on, dude. Come on. I thought you learnt this lesson when you rattled around the inside of the life pod from the Pillar of Autumn like a can of beans, like splattering all the Marines. Don't do this, dude. They can't survive 300-foot drops.
Incoming.
But what if it's a friend?
It isn't.
Man, I can already tell that this game is going to be packed full of god-tier one-liners. And then the brute that comes down the lift, it turns out, is an actual boss. He's a jump pack brute called Tremonius, who uses a Hydra and a Bulldog. Now, I've got to say, I love the fact that the brutes are, like, really favouring human weapons again. That was one of my favourite little kind of details about them in Halo 2. It gave them so much spice that, like, they realised that the Covenant weapons weren't, like, brutish enough for them. They want, like, actual ballistics. And the fact they're doing that again is really cool. I've got to say as well, this animation right here looks a little bit familiar. The return of armor lock, anybody? Dude, imagine if the brutes have armor lock again. I will say I'm not a massive fan of the glowing overlay and the health bar on this like boss by the looks of it. But as long as we can turn those off, then I'm good with them, because I think for me, they break the immersion. I think in particular, comparing this shot of the brute to this shot, the difference is like, the difference in like immersion and like the level of detail is quite high, so I would very much like to have an option to turn off those overlays and health bars and everything, but yeah, Tremonius looks really cool. We then get our first shot in about a year and a half of the TAC map, and it looks a lot different and a lot better now. Firstly, it has actual terrain detail, it's not just blue holograms. We can also see that there are 7 types of collectibles, one of which is skulls, one of which is those rings from the start of the demo last year. Don't really know what they do or what they are, but those things. And then 5 other things, like one looks like a tag pad or like maybe a terminal or something. This bit of the map here, I think I've tried to compare the maps as easily as I can, and this bit looks like where last year's demo took place. And then we get a shot of Forward Operating Base Golf, the details of which read, when controlled, FOBs reveal banished and UNSC activity in the surrounding region, serve as fast travel hubs and rally points for UNSC Marine fire support, and provide access to vehicle drops, weapons, and weapon variants. Gaining Valor unlocks available resources at all captured FOBs, defeat the banished, and access the control terminal to claim this FOB. So, weapon variants confirmed, which is great. Valor sounds like some sort of like points or currency or something? Not sure. I will say, as cool as this sounds, it's slightly concerning how similar these things sound to like your typical Ubisoft Tower thing that gets quite repetitive, but hopefully it's more like Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor, because they had similar features to this, but they weren't repetitive at all. Hopefully it's like that. And then, near FOB Golf, we have Ransom Keep. Now, Ransom Keep appears to be an outpost that is primarily operated by banished loyal elites, the primary function of which is to appropriate UNSC material. Now, by the looks of it, you get 100 Valor, I think, for capturing it. That looks like a kind of Valor-like symbol. And I've got to say, I like how many ways there seem to be to assault this keep. It's not just like you go in through one path and that's it. There's so many different ways to attack it, which is going to add so much replayability. And then also, it appears that this keep's boss, we don't get the name of him or anything, but he's a gold brute who wields a spanker like Rambo wields an M60, which is so weird, but really cool seeing a spanker being held like that. Like, I'm so used to just being held over the shoulder. I've never seen a brute hold a spanker before. Until now. Here, we get our first look at Chief's Mjolnir upgrade system, which I think are the RPG mechanics we heard about like 3 years ago. First off, it looks like Spartan cores are the upgrade resource for these. And then we can also see various upgrades for the thrusters. The first upgrade is Afterburners, which adds a second thrust charge. Then Thermal Control, which reduces their cooldown by 20%. Then Impulse, which adds power to the thruster, which allows you to thrust further and faster. And then Escape Velocity, which gives you camo for 4 seconds after thrusting. And all of these seem to require different amounts of Spartan cores to unlock. Now, I've got to say, I really like how when you actually select an upgrade, you can see the Mjolnir BIOS physically doing the upgrade, like integrating it into the suit on your screen. That's very, very cool.
Do you see that? Could be useful, if you like that kind of thing.
Oh, I like it.
I'm telling you, this game is going to be an absolute one-liner machine. The banished Phantom explosion here looks like decent, looks pretty good, but I find it quite funny that we're still yet to get a Phantom explosion that looks as good as Halo 3's. Here we have a very aesthetic-looking Banshee Renderzook, which is very nicely done. I love the little like crossover between Halo and Battlefield there. But I've got to say, one of the coolest things about this shot is the fact that you can see space through the cracks in the floor of the ring. Very cool detail. The difference in the Craig section here compared to 2020 is absolutely astounding. Right then, let's look at some new enemies. These are the Skimmers. Now, they look very drone-like. Possibly they could be members of the Covenant Fringe, maybe. We've spoken about that in videos before, like these kind of small populations of weird, obscure species that were only ever on the fringe of the Covenant. Maybe these are Fringe Covenant. They have like these little jetpack wing things, and I like how they hold the shock rifle. The fact that they're too small, or rather the shock rifle is too big for them to hold properly, so they have to like hold it upside down and use both hands. It's really, really cool. What they're throwing around though is interesting. This ball thing they're throwing around is either Wheatley from Portal 2. It's not Wheatley. It's either a weird looking kind of rampant monitor type thing, a Guardian eye, as in like the Halo 3 style Guardian, the eye of that, or a War Sphinx eye. It looks kind of similar to the War Sphinx eye that we see on, what's it called, Ivanhoe Station in Halo 4. Bit similar. Oh, and also the colour of the fog in the room that the skimmers are in is it's very interesting. Again, bit of food for thought there. Dude, Jaeger Udomnai looks absolutely incredible. Holy mother of God. Whew. I have no words. I have no words for how sick this guy looks. And then we have the reveal of the Harbinger. Now, I've seen some people saying that she might be a precursor, some people saying that she might be an ancient human, she might be a prelate. Honestly, the closest thing that she looks like to me is a prelate, but even then I'm not entirely sure. It would be really cool if she was a prelate. I would love to fight like actual warring prophets in the game. Prophets that can hold their own, right? That would be so sick, but I don't know. Whatever she is though, she appears to be wearing armor that is of the same origin as the skimmer's armor. It's like identical in style, in color, in detailing, and all that stuff. It looks really similar.
The Forerunner's lies are at an end. I am the harbinger of the truth. You are not the future.
Now, that line there, I'm pretty sure what she's referring to is the Mantle of Responsibility here. So, the Librarian and some other Foreigners agreed with the Precursor's idea that humanity should hold the mantle.
My memories will retain to assist humanity on their path to the mantle.
But is the Harbinger suggesting that they lied here? I mean, to be fair, a lot of what we know about the Precursors has kind of trickled down through millennia and millennia of Forerunner bias, and considering the Foreigners eradicated the Precursors for not giving them the mantle, it's not hard to see how they could have twisted the truth and lied about what the Precursors said. Either way though, I think Infinite's campaign is going to have a major focus on the Mantle of Responsibility, which, to be fair, is the case for all of 343 stories, but I wouldn't be surprised if Infinite's focus is on specifically whether humanity were the rightful heirs to it, or whether the Foreigners lied about that. Why they would have lied? God knows. I don't really see any motive or reasoning for that now, but consider me intrigued. And then finally, we get a tease of what looks to be a live-action or CGI version of Escharum, and this is likely a tease for the actual marketing campaign of the game, for like trailers and live-action trailers and all that good stuff that comes with every Halo game. I imagine this is a tease for that, which is very exciting, but there you have it. The campaign overview broken down in as much detail as is humanly possible. Let me know what you guys thought down below in the comments. Honestly, there's like maybe one or two things in there that like I'm not a huge fan of, but my god, that was so good. I did not expect it to be as good as that. Like, I thought it was going to be a Vidoc where members of 343 were talking about what they were going to do with the game and their ideas with it and what they've done with the game with like little snippets of gameplay. I was not expecting 6 minutes of solid gameplay and cutscenes. That was some seriously good stuff right there. So I'm going to go edit this video. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. I'd love to hear them. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I'll catch you all in the next one.